Hey everybody, Eric here. We are hopefully live. So if somebody could just go ahead and say in the comments that you can see and hear us, because that's going to be the important part tonight is hearing us. The microphones are a little weird. If you've never done this with an iPhone, well, you should probably try it before you come out and do a live stream like this. So we're going to get started here in a few minutes. Hopefully somebody can hear us. Maybe I should have somebody log in and see if they can hear us.
Yeah.
So just pull up YouTube.
So many apps on my phone. All things MSP.
Yep. And we got Lynn from ASCII there in the background. So let me get the other chair set up here. Hopefully you can hear me. That's the big thing. Okay. Can you hear me well?
That's interesting. We're getting like a 6-second delay.
Well, yes, because it's streaming all the way up to the cloud and back again and all of those things. Okay. Good. So hopefully we're going to be able to do this. So who's my first guest / victim tonight?
I'm going to bring over Anthony Urano from NUSO.
Okay. Yep. Now, can you guys tell me if it looks okay, like on your phones? Let me move you a little bit. We always like to focus on the guest rather than me. All right, and this is my beer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Good thing none of us are in tech, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Would be, that would be a great. Wish we knew somebody.
A bunch of tech people here trying to do tech. And, shout out to the guy at Rhythms because Steve Copeland, because he was going to give me a 5G box to do this, but I only talked to him about it yesterday. So it was a little too quick to get it here. But next time, we'll be more prepared. So, Anthony, you're with NUSO.
I am.
And NUSO communications, voice, that kind of
so
stuff?
we're a full stack telecom services provider. So we do everything from hosted voice, SIP trunking, contact center as a service, messaging, integrations, Microsoft Teams, a few different things we do with Microsoft Teams. And then what makes us a bit more unique than just another standard provider is that we're also a carrier on the back end. So we own our own carrier network opposed to having to go through a bandwidth or a cinch to get our phone numbers and our origination traffic. We're actually our own carrier on that. So it does open up a lot of doors on speed of porting and then just different tools that we have into the platform.
So you're taking somebody out of the equation, really.
We are.
And making it more streamlined for the partner.
Exactly.
Now, as an MSP partner, I know there's a lot of complications with voice because there's all kinds of regulations around billing and stuff like that. How do you guys handle that for the MSP?
Yeah, so we do all taxation, all billing for the customers. We also have a white label program as well. So if you're 499A registered with the FCC, you're able to bill and tax on your own.
Okay.
Many folks don't want to do that because you have to get, you have to get registered wherever you're providing services. And we've also got a unique model that where you're able to actually mark up the pricing on that. So you're able to make more revenue off each seat, but not worry about the nasty stuff, which is really the billing portion of it. To me, is billing and porting are the two most complicated parts of the voice side.
Yeah, because I mean, anybody who's ever ported a number before, I mean, especially in the old days,
right?
I mean, it was absolutely horrible. I remember when I switched from Nextel to AT&T, and it was just probably one of the worst experiences of my entire life.
And it's great, because cell phones are quick. They should be quick, right?
Right.
The fun part is when you get a customer and they're new to the voice side, right? They've had the same phones for 15 years, but they just got a cell phone yesterday. They got a new cell phone yesterday and their number ported over in 30 seconds. Like, well, ours is a little bit different. Okay,
Yeah.
it's going to take a little bit longer. There's a little bit more confirmation of things that we need to verify
Right.
prior to that. But again, since we've removed the middleman from the equation, we're taking the numbers directly from the losing carrier, opposed to somebody in the middle now taking that number and then us getting the numbers back from them. So it does speed up. Again, time to resolution is a bit faster. If there's any issues with the port, we don't have to open additional tickets, right? We're the
Right.
ones.
You're the carrier, so you
yeah.
can handle all of that. Now, I know a lot of people, UCAS is a thing, Teams is a thing. Are you guys doing anything with Teams Voice and those kinds of things to help kind of bring all of the communications together?
We are. So we actually do 5 different things with Teams now.
Wow.
So we built something called Bridge for Teams. Okay. The first portion of it, SIP Connect, which is direct routing, essentially. And that's using Teams as the PBX phone system. The second one is Platform Connect, which actually lets us leverage our UCAS platform, but using Teams as your mobility endpoints, right? So the desktop and mobile, that's how I personally use it. That's how our entire company uses it because we're on Teams so much. The third is we're part of the Operator Connect program with Teams. And then in January of this year, we acquired a company by the name of Meta Solutions. And the reason why we acquired them, well, part of it was they have a Microsoft certified contact center that's embedded into Teams, as well as a compliance recorder. Okay, so with the compliance recorder, it's HIPAA compliant on there. There is some PCI things if you are doing, because it also does screen recording. So if you hover over specific fields, it'll actually stop the recording entirely. Once you tab out of those fields, you're able to actually start the recording again. So that was a really interesting add to it because, well, compliance is compliance, right? And you need to be as protected on that as possible.
And when somebody is employing an MSP to do more than just help desk, they're actually trying to come up with solutions for specific industries that need, say, that type of compliance or that type of solution, that gives the MSP that much more capability.
That's correct.
To provide those more customized solutions that I think MSPs need to be moving towards.
Right.
Like, it's not just about the commoditized services anymore. It's about those specialty things that you can do that they can't do without an MSP.
Right. Yeah, and again, that assists the MSP in leveraging, again, more offerings to them. But you have our team as backup for the pre-sale side of it, right? So pre-sales, post-sales, and everything in between that and further out, which is really helpful, especially if you're just getting into voice.
Yeah, because voice can be complicated.
It could be, a very scary thing at first if you've never done it, right? I've been doing it for 17 years now, so to me, now it's simple. I still get stumped once a week, right? But because that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the pre-sales process that our sales team does because it's a full discovery with what the customer, or maybe the MSP already knows what the customer wants, but we're digging in deep on discovery with that.
Yeah, well, with most MSPs not being as familiar with voice as a voice guy, when I was an MSP, I had a separate voice guy, and it really does help to have somebody else who can translate. The MSP is really good at getting the needs piece.
Right.
But translating that to a voice solution, that's where you really need somebody who's more fluent in the voice side of things.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and again, the way that we do it is, deep discovery. Let's find out what the customer wants, and then let's demo on a live system.
Right.
I don't touch PDFs. If I can't show it to you, I can't do it. That's been our way of doing it for a long time, and it just works because you're actually seeing me build out the same exact system that you're going to have at a much smaller scale, of course.
Right.
But I'm actually building it out right in front for the customer based on what they're telling me that they need on there. So, and of course, we'll throw some best practices, of course, on, feature here, feature there, but it really just makes that a smooth and comfortable feeling for the customer. And it also helps the MSP out too, because he's like, all right, you didn't ask any stupid questions and you're not doing any stupid things on here. So,
well, and voice is one of those things that if you're doing something that's even slightly complicated and you haven't done a proof of concept, there's always the chance that something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then look, even if we've got that thing down and we had it 100%, there's day one changes, right? And
Right.
we're ready for day one changes because we know there's going to be day one changes.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's always a thing, especially with boys, because they're like, oh, you know what, we actually thought about this now. All right, cool. So yeah, I mean, and we'll do things that before we even go live, we're running test calls through the system with the customer already and the MSP just to make sure that routing is correct, especially if they've got some type of CCAS, so contact center in there.
Right.
That's really what we need to button down, right? Let's make sure that their first 10 reports that they want to have set up and scheduled are built out for them already. And then we actually, the way that I like to train the customers is on their system. So once it's built out, let's go into your system and do some stuff, right? So it's familiar.
Yeah.
Joe's here, Jackie's here, Mary's here. And it just, it makes it real at that point, right? On the training side,
Yeah.
and they get it. It seems to work the best so far.
So you've got the pre-sales piece down, you've got the training piece down. One of the problems with voice in an MSP, a lot of times, excuse me, is support.
Yeah.
So does the MSP have to provide the support, or do they just contact you, open a ticket?
They can do either.
Okay. So it's flexible.
Right. Yeah. So look, I have some MSPs and partners that they want all support calls to go through them, and then they'll open up a ticket with us. Right. We're more than happy to accept calls from a customer if they're having an issue or open up a ticket through our portals or whatever. But what we've also built out is in our management portal is visibility into all that stuff as well. So for example, they got a new office manager at Joe's law firm, right? They just saw the number that was on the bill. They call us directly for support because they had a question. Well, you have notifiers inside of the management portal saying, Joe's law firm opened up a ticket, and you're able to see everything that's gone on with that ticket. So you have visibility into what's going on, so you can actually play the offensive and be like, hey, I saw that you just called NUSO. Is there anything I can help with?
That's awesome, because that gives the MSP full transparency into situations with their client, even if the client's calling you directly.
That's correct.
Cool. Awesome. So anything else that MSPs need to know about NUSO?
No, I mean, we'd love to, we'd love to walk you through our platforms, our different products that we have. Again, we're pretty diversified when it comes to all things voice, as well as messaging. A couple fun things that we just rolled out. One of them now is called Brand Watch. So what that is, everybody's had issues with spam calls, right? Or your numbers being marked as spam when you're calling out. So what Brand Watch does, it runs your numbers through a process, right? And we're able to see where that number's been flagged. All right. So you have the FCC, you have AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and then you've got what we like to call the mafia, which are those other apps, right? RoboKiller, Caller ID Block.
Yep.
And we're actually able to scrub those numbers once a week. You get a report. And then when we do find something on there, we'll provide a best practices sheet. This is the best way to dispute that.
Gotcha.
Coming up, which we're already doing testing with a large telco now, we're waiting on them at this point, which is a great place to be, or maybe not, but it could take a little longer. But what that's called is branded caller ID. All right, so what happens there is it's doing a full vetting process of the company, okay, to make sure that it's a legitimate company, and now their phone number gets the green check. So it's no longer hitting those algorithms that are the ones stripping out the caller ID.
Right.
You got a green light through, right? So that's really interesting. And your company logo pops up on the cell phone with the number.
So it's kind of like DMARC, DKIM, SPF for email,
exactly,
but for your phone number.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Because you're missing calls.
Yeah.
Or you're calling out to somebody and it's going as spam, and they're like, I'm not going to answer. I think he was telling me actually earlier today that it happened. He's like, I missed a few calls from customers because it came up as spam, so I'm not going to answer those calls.
Yeah.
So
I've had it happen all the time.
But yeah, no, we'd love to. Actually, for that thing too, we're also doing just testing of numbers anyway. So email us a couple of your numbers. We'll actually run the test, shoot you out the report, so you can see how that looks. But yeah, no, we're channel focused. We're 100% channel focused. We don't talk to end users directly. Well, we talk to them directly, but we don't sell to end users directly.
So that would be a really cool thing to offer them as a kind of a pre-sales tool.
Oh yeah.
To get into a client saying, I can check your phone number
Right.
to see if it comes up as spam, and then give you some best practices as how to fix.
It's fun,
That's
and it's
that's
fun.
really-
It's giving you good information, and we also have last thing we'll throw out here is NUSO Flex. So again, this is where we were really able to start leveraging our carrier network. And the analogy I use, so let's say, for example, a Verizon cell phone is not getting through to you, right? And they're calling and calling and calling, and the calls are not getting through. Well, there's been a fiber cut somewhere, right? At a CO, and that ladder area code is actually down for that specific area. So we start to see that calls are failing. They're hitting the network and they're just failing, or sometimes they're not even hitting the network at all. So with machine learning and AI, we're actually able to diagnose that there's an issue there, and then reroute those calls to a second or third underlying carrier, since we have 3 underlying carriers that we work with. So we're avoiding that disaster. So the analogy is you have Google Maps, right?
Yep.
You're going to Orlando, for example. There's an accident in the road. Well, Google Maps automatically reroutes you around that disaster, so you're not stuck in that.
Right.
That's what NUSO Flex does for inbound phones,
Wow.
phone calls. And that's probably my favorite thing that we have, because, well, who doesn't want their phones ringing, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, phones are still the lifeblood of most businesses,
Absolutely.
especially small businesses. Right. We've got email and social play a bigger part than they used to 5-10 years ago, but but phone is still
The phone is the phone.
The phone is the phone, and while someday it might get replaced, it's not today. It's not anytime soon.
I've been saying that the desk phone was going to go away for the last 10 years,
and it still
and
hasn't.
we're still 95% of our orders have desk phones on them. So
Yep.
they're just not going to go anywhere. People are used to a handset.
Awesome.
So,
well, Anthony, thanks so much, and thanks so much for sponsoring the Taste of Success tonight.
Worries.
And hey, I mean, it's not working badly so far.
No,
so,
I love it.
Hey,
What a great setup.
next time we'll do better.
Yeah.
It's kind of an ongoing thing on the podcast that we say we're always going to do better next time. So, but again, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Eric.
All right, Eric, I have Brad coming over. Will that work for you?
Yeah, I just want to check a couple of things here, making sure we're still doing okay battery-wise there.
Brad, have your seat over here.
We are?
I don't know. That's what she just said. It's casual.
It's casual.
Are we live right now?
It's Casual Wednesday. We are live.
Oh my goodness, we're live. Hello, TV land.
And supposedly people can still hear us. So
Okay. Is this our mic?
this is our mic.
Okay.
So we're doing the best we can with what we
Good
got.
to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
Absolutely. So welcome to North Carolina. Wait, we're taking a photo. So wait, let's look. Okay. Good.
And I like the fact that Lynn is sporting the All Things MSP sticker on the back of her phone.
Is she doing that?
Like-
She is doing that.
How that's support right there.
That is major support. You probably want to put one on the back of your shirt also. That would be real support. But yeah, well.
Now, if I was the brand marketer that I think I am, I would have brought the stickers and the everything with me.
You would add the whole thing.
But
All right. Well,
it was a busy day.
It's a lot of travel. So
Not as much as you lately.
I have been around, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yes. I've been to Denver. I'm here. I'm going to be in Nashville. I'm going to be in Atlanta. And yeah, it's quite a bit.
Will I see you at ChannelCon?
That's the Atlanta.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
that's right.
We're all going to
It's
be at
coming up.
ChannelCon.
It's
That's right.
And if you're not registered for ChannelCon, please. I mean, come on. It's one of the best
Register.
industry events of the year.
For sure.
And, it's relatively cheap or free if you're a member.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Atlanta. It's close for everybody. Come on.
It's close to everyone. It's a good event. A lot of good vendors are going to be there. A lot of good educational material.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd recommend it as well.
Yep. We just had a phone call on it today, and it's
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. All right,
so
good
it's
time.
it's
Good
gonna
time.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. So what's going on with
So
you?
what should we chat about?
Well, you've got
All
some new
things
stuff going
legal.
on. Yeah, all things legal.
All things legal.
I introduced you today. I did a little thing to get last minute people here,
Mhm.
and I called you the attorney to the stars, or at
I
least
like
the
it.
MSP stars.
I accept. I accept that title. King of all I purvey, right? That's also something. But no, I'll take MSP this star. So I'll tell you, I'm here today talking to MSPs in Carolina. Then we'll talk about what's coming up, right? Okay. Today to basically tell them that the way they've been thinking about legal stuff is wrong. Meaning they're worried about liability. They're worried about contracts and so on. And while that is certainly something you need to think about,
Yeah,
that doesn't really get to the heart of what the issue is. What is keeping them up at night? And is it liability? That's sort of the C plus answer. Okay, that's the C plus answer. You want the A answer? The A answer is they are kept up at night because of realities. Okay, realities in the industry.
mm-hmm.
And it is those realities that have to be addressed. And once you address them, you'll sleep well, right? And if you think about the realities of this industry, you start thinking, oh, well, yeah, that really is what keeps me up at night. Like the customers that don't listen to you, but then blame you when something goes wrong.
Right.
Customers that don't understand what you do or how you do it. They think that because they're opening up service tickets, that somehow the MSP is doing something wrong. No, it means you have obsolete equipment and you wouldn't even be running if it weren't for us, right? But the customers don't understand that. And so if you thought about all the different realities in the industry, we would come up with dozens. I mean, this is what I do. I come up with dozens of them, I see them and I address them. And so that's what we've been talking about tonight and this afternoon, okay? The realities of the industry and how are you going to address that? Anyone could put a limitation of liability section in an agreement. Go online, you'll find it, okay? But who's going to talk about the fact that you don't provide a regulatory solution just because a service that you facilitate complies with a regulation, right? So in other words, my upstream provider might be HIPAA compliant. That doesn't make you HIPAA compliant, Mr. Customer. That just means that little portion complies with HIPAA. But you need a much more comprehensive system, right? That's something the MSP has to convey. And it is that kind of reality-based contracting. That's what I've been preaching here today.
So it's the specifics to cover the realities,
yes,
rather than just a general trying to push their liability off.
Right, because there's a lot of ground between we've done nothing wrong and we've done something wrong. There's a lot of ground, and most of the time the finger is being pointed at the MSP because the customer doesn't understand. Right? They just don't get it. They don't understand that if we moved we had our IT director move a couple of files around. Well, when you did that, you messed up the archive filing system that we had, so now your backup isn't available. What do you mean it's not available? I'm paying you to do it. Well, you can't have your people mess around with the file structure. These are the realities that MSPs face. That's the kind of thing that must be addressed in your contracts. Yeah. Because when they happen, not if they happen, but when they happen, the finger's going to be pointed to the MSP, and you need to be ready for that.
So I talk a lot about setting expectations, and this is very much like that.
Right. It's exactly what it is. Reality-based contracting manages expectations, for sure. So that's what we've been preaching.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know that you're going to be on the podcast in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
So looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much you want to talk about the stuff you're going to talk about here, or if you just want to...
Do we want to hint? Do we want to be mysterious? No, I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. That's fine. That's fine. It's my second Red Bull. I'll talk about anything you want to talk about. I'll talk about it double speed if you'd like. So what I am doing is I have identified a need in the industry that has not been properly addressed. Okay, and what it entails is MSPs that need guidance as far as how they offer their contracts to their customers, how they manage those contracts, how they keep track of what contracts are out there and who has viewed them and how they've been used, how they edit those contracts. And so I thought, you know what, I could create a platform. And that's what MSP Terms is going to do. MSPterms.com. It is going to be a platform engineered for MSPs. And the idea is that it will fit nicely into the mantra that I talk about all the time, about reality-based contracts and how they should be accepted and how they should be offered to your customers and explained. All of those functionalities are going to be built into the platform. And the concept is that not only will you be able to upload, access, manage your documents, there'll be a repository of well, candidly, Brad Gross curated documents. And if I can brag for 6 seconds, while it's not a formal poll, I have counseled more MSPs than all lawyers combined. I have counseled well over 7,000. I don't think anyone can say that. So they're going to be Brad Gross curated documents. There's going to be an educational component with videos and blogs. And
That's
articles,
what I was going to ask.
Right?
Because
and then there's going to be a marketplace. So it's exciting. It's keeping me up at night because my developers are driving me nuts. I should know that they're going to do that because this is what I do. But, you know, when it hits home, it's different.
it's the realities of owning a SaaS software company.
Did you just hit me with my own reality?
I did. I did.
Holy crap. Wow. I wasn't even ready for that. Touche, sir. Touche.
But I was going to ask about the training piece because it sounds like a lot of this reality-based, you know, contracting requires a lot more of the MSP training the clients
Right.
on these realities, but then we've got to train the MSPs first.
Correct. No, you're 100% right. First, you have to get the MSPs to understand that their customers have no idea what they do.
Right.
You have to get them done. You know, we can sit around in the group that's here and this afternoon, and we can talk all about how we offered an MDR solution that had a built-in security awareness training program, this, and they turned this down, but we went with an XDR. We could talk all day long, and everyone here is like, yeah, I get it. The dentist or the doctor or the manufacturing company is just going, so you're going to protect me? That's all they know. You're going to protect me?
That's all they care about.
Right. And how you answer that question can decide what your ultimate liability will be, or at least how many problems you'll have, right? If you say, yeah, we'll protect you, you know, that's so 2010.
Right.
Nowadays,
so the website says we'll do everything for you. And when you don't,
exactly. Exactly. So you have to first get MSPs to buy into that. And I think slowly but surely we're starting to see that. Okay. Then it's, well, how am I going to express this to my customers, to the MSP's customers? That gets into the agreements themselves, the documents themselves, the descriptions of the services, setting up the parameters of the services. And the only way you can do that is bluntly if you understand the services themselves. Right. You can't write up an agreement and say with confidence, well, you know, this is an agreement that's made for an MSSP, when you don't even understand the difference between the vendors and what they do and the technologies that they're using and so forth. How can you do that? Well, that's what I'm doing, and that's the basis of the platform. So it's exciting stuff. It will. It's beta tested now, but beta testing is going to go on for a few weeks. So says my therapist, and it should be ready to launch at or about the time of ChannelCon.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we look forward to it.
But we'll know more. We're doing our podcast later on. It'll be even that much closer. So I'll be able to demonstrate things, hopefully, and so on.
Awesome. Well, look forward to it. And look forward to seeing you at ChannelCon.
I appreciate you bringing it up. Thank you.
And good luck with the realities of it all.
Thank you, sir. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you, too.
All right.
See you, everybody.
See you, everyone.
Although we're going to stay on here because I think we might have a guest or two more. Again, let me check battery levels.
You know what? I think I have more to say. Let me say, no.
Oh, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Let's see what the comments have to say. We've got Keith Nelson.
My friend Keith.
He's in the house. He says he's already signed up.
Yes, he's getting updates. Keith, you got an update this week, didn't you, my friend?
Awesome. So I will take, a little break here and just say thanks to the sponsors of this channel. Tonight's sponsor is SuperOps. So if you're looking for another RMM tool, that's integrated with a PSA and you're not sure what to look at, absolutely check them out. A lot of AI in the background of that, a lot of cool stuff they're doing. If you haven't checked out their community, They actually run a really cool community as well. So reach out there, tell Nancy I said hi, and we're just having fun with this thing tonight. So Lynn, who's next?
We have Mark Weiner. He's a
Okay.
longtime ASCII member here from the Raleigh area.
Mark?
How are you? Mark Weiner from BizCom Global.
And Mark, we've met at all kinds of different
Yes.
events before. I think the last one, because I haven't been traveling a lot, is probably the last CompTIA event that was here in Raleigh.
Yes, I think that was the last time I saw you, which was a very well-attended event.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I think they've got some good numbers here tonight
They
for
do.
ASCII Taste of Success. So
they do, which is really nice.
So you work more, if I remember right, on the compliance side of things.
So, BizCom Global, we have what I'll call a traditional MSP.
Uh-huh.
But growing out of that traditional MSP, we learned that compliance became a huge problem. It became a problem because the customers didn't even understand their own requirements. They didn't even know where to start.
That's a problem.
And they had compliance departments, and they talked about basically checkbox compliance, meaning, all right, I got a little list, let me just check it off, and yeah, I guess I'm compliant.
Kind of like the insurance list
Sort
for
of
their
like the
cyber
insurance
liability.
Sort of like what Brad and Anthony both said, little things of what's the reality from Brad versus what do I have MFA? Well, I got MFA. Is everybody using it? Well, I don't know. I don't even know how to check that. I don't even know what MFA is, So we ended up starting a division about a year ago called RiskLock, which is both built into our MSP services and also being created as a standalone product, which at the moment is being mostly offered. Other MSPs are bringing us RiskLock business, and we're actually sending business back to the MSPs, which is really interesting. And some of this started about 4 or 5 years ago when we went down the road and we got our own ISO 27001. And we realized as an MSP, we were missing things. And currently we're working on our own SOC 2.
Okay.
And again, you realize there's holes. And so we are a CMMC RPO.
Okay.
So we're doing some consulting in the CMMC world. We're doing a lot of stuff. Almost everything we do is now compared to NIST 2.0. We're actually focusing on a lot of the maturity levels. What does it mean to use a standard but not actually mature? And understand how you apply some of these things. What does it mean when you got more than one compliance standard and they don't actually agree? That gets really difficult. So where we fit, we can do all the full evaluation of where somebody is. We can work with the MSP. We can work directly with the customer. And then on staff, we have a couple CISOs and a couple CIOs that can actually drive some of the parts and pieces so we understand where their needs are. We integrate both the senior management and at the lower level of people who might implement it. And a lot of the companies have no one to implement. And in those cases, we're going, all right, so our program leaders are going, who is going to do this work? What is it that's going to happen? And a funny story, we were working with one company and they go, well, we've assigned it to Sally. And well, what's the budget? Well, we gave her $1,000 budget. Oh, by the way, they had a 2008 R2 server that needed to be upgraded to something that was actually able to receive updates. And
Right.
oh, by the way, it
And
was their active,
patches,
it was
yeah.
their Active Directory server. And like $1,000 isn't reasonable. Well, we scheduled for a weekend, and she had no experience in it. And in the end, we ended up pushing it back to their IT service provider, and we got a real budget for them, and we actually got a real planning phase in of you don't just switch this. And we test and work with testing. So our leads actually helped drive that process to get the right pieces, and in the end, actually pushed a lot of money and business back to the MSP itself.
Now, with a lot of MSPs, compliance is relatively new.
Mhm.
I mean, they've heard about HIPAA for years, but never, didn't really have to do much because it didn't have teeth in the beginning. But there's all other kinds of compliance coming out. I mean, CMMC is a big one because any defense contractors or defense contractor adjacent,
Right.
That's extremely important for.
Although
But
they still have to finish getting their act together in the way they're going to
they
implement.
do.
But actually, in more teeth is FTC.
That's where I was going with this, because FTC is affecting more small businesses that MSPs are more likely to deal with. Your CPA firms, your car dealerships.
Yes, and the car dealerships. I got to tell you a story. The only reason they started going down this road was because the franchisor came to them and said, "We want evidence of compliance, or we're pulling your franchisee license." And they go, "Well, you can't do that." And they said, "Here's in the contract where we can." So they come to us and they said, "Can you just sign a letter that says we're compliant?" Well,
No,
the reality is they
That's
actually
how it
have
works.
passwords still pasted to their computers. So I mean, some of it is basic and common sense, but a lot of it is following the bouncing balls and making sure there's real programs in place to actually train the employees. There's real policy and procedure that actually has teeth and is integrated into what they do every day. And honestly, I was actually talking to a mid-sized dental practice, and the administrator said, "Well, we're HIPAA compliant." I said, "Okay, that's great." I said, "Well, where are your policies and procedures?" "Well, they're in that book over there, which are shrink wrapped and never opened." I said, so have you ever looked at that?" "Well, it's on the shelf, so we're compliant." Well, it doesn't work that way.
No.
So it sounds funny, but a medical office, they're going to have HIPAA. They're going to have most likely PCI. They take a credit card. They need to be compliant, and checking the boxes on the form annually that the credit card company gives you. All that does is put you responsible when something fails.
So, and another good tip that I've heard a lot of people talk about lately is how the MSP should not be filling out those forms for the client. It should be a designated representative of the client authorized to do that with the help of the MSP, but the MSP can't take the liability for answering those questions.
And I think for the average MSP, I think that is absolutely 100% correct. I think if you had somebody that was contracted in acting as the CISO or the CIO or the chief privacy officer, it might be a little different, but you got to watch the liability, and they still need to sign off on it.
Yeah.
But it needs to be clear, and it's got to back itself up in policy and procedure, and that policy and procedure needs to be able to actually be followed.
Yep, it sure does. So, have you seen a lot with FTC?
So FTC right this second is a little bit like HIPAA was.
Okay.
That they're waiting for people to come. So when HIPAA originally, no one really had authority to do anything. FTC, there is authority, but they're really waiting for people to complain. The three complaints that I'm aware of were all filed by employees, and the FTC is actually following on them. It's going to take probably a year before you start seeing consent decrees. And actually, I think that's going to be the first step. The FTC is going to start looking for companies of all sizes. They're not going to try and prosecute. They're going to try and get consent decrees, which will actually triple or quadruple damages for future failure to comply, so they can hold it out and say, "Look at what's going on."
Yeah. Well, and it's something that I think every MSP needs to understand, because these are the size businesses that all MSPs deal with, not just the larger ones.
And unfortunately, even the one-person business that's just dealing with mortgages.
Yes.
You have,
because a lot of that is around financing. That's where it really hits the car dealerships and the small mortgage brokers and things like that.
And one of the most interesting things, this is a mid-sized accounting firm. They told us, "No, we have no personally identifiable information on any machine except for this one over here. Everything's controlled." We ran some software. We found personal financial information. We found personal identifiable information. We found healthcare information, because some person uploaded with their tax return filing documents the
Receipts.
health information that was now needed to be embargoed. Turns out they also have a small stock brokerage, and a lot of that data was sitting over there. And so, of their 84 machines, 77 had identifiable information which it shouldn't have had.
And see, you don't know that unless you have the tools in place to be able to scan for that. And there are plenty of tools out there that will do that and alert you to information being in the wrong place.
Right. And then this moves into other good hygiene things that most MSPs still aren't doing, like data loss prevention tools.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, if you're not putting these things in place, putting good compliance in place actually creates the opportunity for the MSPs for substantially more trust within the customer, growth in your business, and make your business so sticky that getting rid of you is hard.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on and talking about compliance tonight.
Good to see you, Eric.
Good to see you too. I hope I see you around more.
Absolutely.
Since we live in the same city.
Exactly. We'll make that happen.
Right. I have another fabulous guest for you, Eric.
Okay.
I have Jeffrey Loy from IT Works. He's been an ASCII member. He's been a member of the ASMC.
Jeffrey.
He's a member of the ACN. So he's a great
a loving husband.
There you go.
So you're probably familiar with my podcast host then,
I am.
Justin, who has been doing the podcast with me from the beginning. Actually, he's the one who really kicked me in the butt to start the podcast. I wanted to do one for years and was just waiting for somebody to come in and do it with me. And thankfully, we're like 64, 65 episodes in now every week for over a year. So you own IT Works, and so you're an ACN, so obviously you do Apple. Do you do both? Are one of those rarities that
Some would call me odd. Yes, we. Yeah.
Well,
we
this
do.
whole industry is odd, so you're not an outlier there.
We are a full service MSP, and we focus on all platforms. So we are unique in the fact that we do Windows and Macintosh platforms, and we go with where we don't pick on either one. It's what the client needs, and we integrate them. So yes, that is something very unique to IT Works.
Well, I've always said that if you're going to do businesses of almost any size, you have to be able to at least do minimal stuff on a Mac. I had a CEO ask me once whether or not we should do Mac, whether or not we should monitor and support Macs as an RMM tool. And I said, look at this room. And it was a meeting of the executive team of that company, all VPs, the CEO, all the C-level people. And I was like, look at this room. You have 12 people in this room. These are the leaders of this company. 12 people, one Windows machine. And so if you want to support the leadership of an organization, quite often that means supporting Macintosh devices and supporting Apple devices, especially now, because it's even more true now that the Apple ecosystem is what it is with iPhones, iPads, and the Macs now.
Correct. And the C-level executive is actually who drove integration of Apple. In fact, if you look at the numbers, the Apple machine or Apple product is growing at a faster rate than Dell or Lenovo or anybody as far as being adopted.
Yep.
So most businesses have an enclave of Apple, and definitely at the C level, but it is trickling down.
Mm-hmm.
And our philosophy has always been best tool of choice. If a client needs a nice fat Windows machine to do what they need to do, great. That's a great tool of choice. But if they would prefer the Apple product, make the tool work.
Right.
And make sure it communicates with your coworkers. And so that's been our philosophy. And you're 100% correct. That is the fastest. That's what I'm being asked about every day. And I need to make the Macs talk to Intune. And I need to make the Macs talk to Azure Active Directory and all the other pieces of enterprise. So yeah, so it's happening.
Yeah, so, and we're seeing it all the time with people integrating their technology more. It's not just the business endpoint is no longer just the desktop.
Right.
or the laptop. It is also the the phone, because there's email that comes in on that. And I know that Apple does some really cool things to be able to separate the work information from the personal information on those devices, which makes it ideal for the new era of business operations that we're in.
Yeah, and Apple had to grow up a little bit too. So, and I'll make that statement from they have been a consumer-centric product for a long time, and the adoption of business has been wonderful, but the Apple ID structure didn't quite work for business.
Right.
So they've got Apple Business Manager. It's basically Apple ID for business.
Mm-hmm.
It can be federated, which means protected. So Apple's grown up a lot in that space too. And yes, there is this wall and this distinction where your device can live in two worlds and keep the data apart.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to mix it.
No, because you want to be able to remove the business data and leave their personal data in the event that they leave the organization.
Right.
I also see one of the factors of that growth in market share of the Mac products is a lot of companies are now giving employees the choice between, a Windows device or a Mac. Right. And I think that's driving some of that growth. And, and this is going to be personal opinion of mine, but I believe that the Mac products are just built really well. You can buy high-end Windows devices, but they're going to cost you the same as a Mac.
Right.
And I mean, I just had to replace a battery on my MacBook Air 11-inch.
Right.
This is like a
a couple of years ago.
15 model. This is 2015 model, I think. I turned around. It's on my workbench in my office, and I turned around one day and it had swelled like an inch and a half because the battery. And of course, it's right under the trackpad and everything. So the trackpad was like popped out and everything. But I bought a new battery, put it back together, and it all sprung right back. And it works just fine.
So since we're a service center, I can actually speak to the guts of the Mac quite a bit. There is no such thing as a low-end Macintosh product or an Apple product. There's no such thing as a low-end. Even their entry level, it's aluminum cases. Mm-hmm. It's well thought out design inside, very modular repair, longevity of the OS, the longevity of keeping the device. Mm-hmm. My average Windows user is probably flipping on 36 to 40 months. My Apples are 5 to 7 years. Right. In fact, they drive me nuts because I want to refresh the hardware a little bit more. But you're right. It is a higher level machine, even going into the. And of course, professionally, I use Macs too, but personally and professionally. But I'm not saying that because I'm so positive Apple. I'm just saying that's true. Right. That is how it's done. Well, and you started this conversation with give them the machine that is going to solve the problem that they have. Right. If that's a Windows machine, it's a Windows machine. If it's a Mac, it's a Mac. Do what's best for the client. Because at the end of the day, I think most MSPs are out to solve a problem, not provide a commoditized help desk service. Right. And so I think it's just super important that we support what the client needs. Right. And it sounds like that's what IT Works is doing. That's what we care about. It's the days of my favorite technology, they're over. Microsoft won that game a long time ago. But it's about the user. It's really what's best for them. Mm-hmm. And with the internet and Microsoft Office 365 and all the standards that are out there now, everything's equal. Right. It's not like you buy this machine, you can't do this, or you buy that machine, you can't do that. Right. So you're right. It does come down to tool. Yep. And which one you choose. Yeah. Awesome. So any advice for the MSP who has not kind of really delved into the Mac piece? Okay. Should they take that on themselves? Should they look for, say, an ACN to help them out? What is the best path for them? They need to join ASCII. That's the first thing they do. Okay. And the second thing is ASCII has a relationship with something called ASMC. Mm-hmm. which is the Apple Trade Organization. And there are a whole lot of Apple professionals doing MSP work and Apple products within that group and build a relationship. I help tons of MSPs with their Mac site, and they're still customer facing. They're the client. They're doing business with the client. We're bringing our knowledge to help them out. And don't work with the Apple Store. Not Apple's probably gonna fire me now. But if you work with a professional, an ACN or an Apple authorized reseller or an Apple authorized service provider, because those guys are in the game as far as MSP and IT.
Yep.
So that would be my best advice. Build a relationship.
Awesome.
And you can get it from ASCII.
Well, thanks so much, Jeffrey, for joining me tonight.
Thank you. All right.
Have fun.
All right.
So Lynn, you want to come in and just wrap us up?
All right. Well, I'm not a camera person, so I do
That's
apologize.
okay. This is more of a podcast than anything.
All right.
It's relaxed. We're sitting here at the Raleigh Beer Garden tonight because of ASCII, because of NUSO, and thank you so much, by the way, for inviting me. I really do appreciate it. I don't get out much, so this really helps. No, I was just at IT Nation Secure 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks. I don't even remember how long.
Time flies.
It does.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for putting this on.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming here and talking to everybody. And I'm so grateful, Brian from Apple, again, bringing the Apple and the MSP communities all together, brought me to the ACES events in Salt Lake City. And thank goodness you were there and we reconnected and this got to happen. So what a great community we serve, right?
Yes.
All around.
Oddballs and all.
Oddballs and all. We're all oddballs. But
we are.
I love all my oddballs. So, ASCII has over 1,300 members and we're in all 50 states in Canada. And we're just a big close-knit
and
group.
you guys do ASCII Edge, which are your bigger events.
We do.
What are the next two? What cities are they in?
Absolutely. So we'll be in Chicago next week.
Okay.
Then we're going to be in Boston. We still have Toronto, St. Louis, and St. Pete, Florida this year.
Okay.
So we invite all the MSPs out there in your audience to visit us at ASCIIevents.com. We'll get you to where you need to go to register for those events. They're complimentary, a lot of fun. We bring together 150, 200 of your business owners, MSP business owners together, about 60 vendor partners for great fun, learning, keynote speakers, really focused on the content. It's not the pitches, it's really the content that we're focusing on. So yes, we invite all your followers to join us at ASCII Edge. We still have several taste of successes that we're working on as well. So you can go to our ASCII.com website and find out where we're going to be next.
Awesome. Well, and hopefully I'll get to one or two.
Yes, we'll get you there
this year. Maybe the St. Pete one, because then I can do double duty and be a good son and go see my parents. So
absolutely, that's necessary, and that's our ASCII Cup. So if you're going to pick one of them,
that's true.
St. Pete, we're going to finish it off with the ASCII Cup. Which, if you don't know about the ASCII Cup, Google it or search it. Last year we had it at the Air and Space Museum, and since ASCII is celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, we're going out with a bang with an 80s party. You're not going to want to miss it.
Nothing like an 80s party in this industry.
Absolutely, it's going to be something you won't want to miss.
I already have the outfit for it.
Perfect. I can't wait to see it.
All right. Thanks, Lynn, for organizing this again, and
My
really
pleasure.
do appreciate letting me do the live stream. And guys, hopefully this worked. And all I can do is, in the immortal words of Justin Escar, say, we'll do better next time. See you later. Oh, don't forget Marvin B, 8 o'clock. His live stream is always right after this one. And we were talking to NUSO earlier, and they were talking about their solution for making sure that your phone number doesn't get put on spam lists and stuff like that. Another great sponsor of this channel is EasyDmark, and they can help you with the same thing, but for your email addresses, making sure your email gets delivered, making sure that SPF is configured properly, DMARC, DKIM, all those things. So check them out at easydmark.com or atmsp.link/easydmark, because that way I know that you guys are visiting our vendors. Same thing with SuperOps, atmsp.link/SuperOps. We'll get you there. And again, thanks so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.